So I think before I started testosterone, I was very fixated on how people were perceiving me, which is fair. Like I was having more trouble passing, as it were, with passing being, the perception of people around me as a particular gender, which became less of an issue when I became more comfortable with myself. This seemed to coincide with when I had testosterone, because then I felt like I had a bit more freedom to present as I wanted to. So, for example, I grew my hair out and I presented a little bit less very strictly masculine. So, I guess allowing yourself that freedom to explore what you actually want to present as yourself, as opposed to what you think you're expected to present as, is really, really important. I used to do a workshop on using makeup to make the face more masculine, as that's what I used to do for testosterone. And I fully accept that that is something that people do get use out of and things like that. But if you're putting the effort in and it's not something that's actually giving you anything, then don't bother. Put the effort into something else that makes you happier. So.
Well, I think there's a massive difference between being gender non-conforming in the way you style yourself and the way you choose to dress and express yourself, and then actually having that as an identity. And the two can exist quite separately. Anybody is welcome to express themselves however they like, be they cis or trans or whatever. And so it's a case of kind of finding your own way of expressing yourself. And I personally cycled through so many different looks, I suppose, and so many different ways of doing things. And in the first instance, before I was out, but when I was out to my friends, and we would sort of go out to gay clubs or whatever, with me sort of presenting more female, more femme. So that was kind of one way of doing it, but because that was kind of temporary, it was always more of a, I was going out. I was going out to play, so I wasn't going to be wearing something, sort of loose-fitting and casual to go and do that, because that's not what you do in that social situation. So, but as time has gone on, and I've realised, okay, what I really can't be bothered doing is getting up like 3 hours before I need to go to work just to make sure I can do all the makeup. So I've just kind of gotten to a point where I've got a look that I quite like, that I use quite regularly. Sort of daily. It's just, a bit around the eyes perhaps. And, very rarely now do I even break out the eyeshadow, for example. I've just kind of found the way of doing it that works for me. And so sometimes that involves doing something that is, as it were, gender non-conforming. I mean, this t-shirt's probably a pretty good example, if we're honest. But then there are also occasions where it's like, okay, well, I'm going to a works do, a smart thing, and you kind of want to, fit in a little more with that more professional context. So I certainly wouldn't wear this outfit, and I wouldn't have done it at a previous job, working for a bank or whoever. You wouldn't dream of it. The thing that I found most helpful actually was speaking to other trans people. And that was in terms of defining how I present myself and my own identity. That sort of journey only really started once I moved to Manchester and got involved and started to know people in the trans community. I found that much, much more helpful than taking style tips from cis women. And that's not to say that that's bad, and that's certainly a perfectly valid thing to do, but I didn't find that experience nearly as liberating as talking to other trans people and other sort of gender non-conformists about it. To an extent, yes. But then, as you can probably tell, I haven't spent a lot of time doing a tremendous amount of work on my voice, but I have found it's that kind of linguistic empathy that we were talking about, where you're sort of speaking to someone who's got a strong accent and you find yourself slightly adopting that accent. And so with having spent so much time in environments with a lot of other trans people and with a lot of, a lot of cis women and a lot of different people, you find yourself not exactly adopting all of those characteristics, but kind of people watching and kind of making notes like, oh, okay, so that seems to be a thing that people do, and that seems to be a thing that people do. It's whatever is suitable for yourself, and I don't think any of us should let anyone else, be they a cis person or a trans person, say, oh, well, you have to do this, and you have to wear a dress, and you have to make sure that you do your whatever, blending thing, no idea. You know, you have to do all of those things if you're a trans woman, and if you're a trans man, you have to wear a suit and like football and or you know, get a football kit or whatever. None of us have to do any of those things, and it's about finding the style that works for you. And so sometimes that involves looking slightly like a circus performer, and sometimes it involves playing around in the spaces between things, you know, and mix and match and see what works and see what you're comfortable doing and see what is practical for you as well. As I say, you don't want to be getting up at 5 a.m. to get ready for your job starting at 9. That's asking too much of you to expect people to do that.